Coming up on the British TV watch list.
It didn't matter how wealthy you were. If you made your money in trade, you weren't quite acceptable.
From cozy mysteries to intense police procedurals, we talk about the characters, performances, series, and episodes from your favourite British TV shows.
Hello there, it's Michael T. and the British TV watch list. Welcome back. Today we are examining the British class system. I know, a little bit different. It's one of the most rigid social hierarchies the modern world has ever known. And we're using one of the most successful British television shows of all time as our guide, Downton Abbey. I have to say right up front, obviously I'm not British. I've never lived the lifestyle, so I apologize right up front for any errors in research that I might make here. The British class system wasn't just about who had money and who didn't. It was a complex web of laws, traditions, and unspoken rules designed to keep power exactly where it had always been, at the top. Downton Abbey gives us a front row seat to how this system actually worked. The series ran from 2010 to 2015, plus the movies. It follows the Crawley family and their servants in a fictional Yorkshire estate from 1912 to 1926. That's the tail end of the Edwardian era through World War I and into the 1920s. The show opens with the sinking of the Titanic in 1912. 2 passengers die who matter to our story, James Crawley and his son Patrick. They were the heirs to Downton Abbey. This creates a crisis, not just a family tragedy, a legal crisis that reveals exactly how the class system protected itself.
Good morning, Carson.
Good morning, my lord.
Is it true what they're saying?
I believe so, my lord.
I'm afraid we'll know some people on it. I don't suppose there are any lists of survivors yet.
I understand most of the ladies were taken off in time.
You mean the ladies in first class?
Here's where it gets interesting. Robert Crawley, the Earl of Grantham, has 3 daughters. But under something called an entail, the estate cannot pass to them. The entail was a legal device used by aristocratic families to prevent their estates from being broken up or sold off. It locked the property into a specific line of inheritance, usually the eldest son. If there was no son, it went to the nearest male relative, even a distant cousin. Why did entails exist? To preserve the landed aristocracy. If daughters could inherit, they might marry outside their class. Their husbands might sell the land. The estate might be divided among multiple heirs and lose its power. The entail prevented all of that. It kept wealth and land concentrated in the hands of a few families, generation after generation. In Downton Abbey, this means the estate must go to Matthew Crawley, a distant cousin from Manchester. He's a lawyer, middle class. He's never even met the family. But the law says he inherits everything. Not just the house and land, the title too. And here's the cruel twist. Cora Crawley, Robert's wife, is an American heiress. Her fortune was used to save Downton, but because of the entail, her own daughters can't inherit their mother's money. It's all tied to the estate, which goes to Matthew. This is the class system in action, law and custom working together to maintain the status quo. The main characters upstairs include Robert and Cora, their daughters Mary, Edith, and Sybil. Robert's mother, Violet, the Dowager Countess, played by Maggie Smith. Downstairs, you have the butler, Carson, the housekeeper, Mrs. Hughes, the cook, Mrs. Patmore, the lady's maid, Anna, the valet, Bates, and dozens more. The show became a global phenomenon. It was recognized by Guinness World Records as the most critically acclaimed English-language television series of 2011. 69 Emmy nominations, 15 wins, 3 Golden Globes. The finale drew 9.6 million viewers in America alone. It was the highest-rated drama in PBS history. But Downton wasn't the first show to examine the British class divide through the upstairs-downstairs lens. Upstairs Downstairs, the TV show, premiered in 1971, nearly 40 years before Downton. Set at 165 Eaton Place in Belgravia, London. The Bellamy family upstairs, their servants downstairs. The timeline runs from 1903 to 1930. 8 Emmy wins, 2 Golden Globes. The show was created by Jean Marsh and Eileen Atkins. Both came from working-class backgrounds. Their parents were servants. They wanted to tell that story. The servants' perspective mattered just as much as the aristocrats. That was revolutionary for British television in 1971. Belgravia, created by Julian Fellows in 2020, is set earlier, the 1840s. It explores the collision between old aristocracy and new money. The Trenchard family made their fortune in trade. They're wealthy, but wealth alone doesn't grant you entry into high society, not in Britain. The show reveals how the upper class use social rules as gatekeepers. Know the right people, attend the right schools, marry into the right families, or stay out. The Gilded Age, also by Fellows, takes the class struggle to 1880s New York, old money families versus new industrialist fortunes. It's the American version of the same battle. But in America, money could buy you almost anything. In Britain, lineage still trumped wealth. Call the Midwife shows the other side of the spectrum. 1950s London, nurses and nuns delivering babies in the East End. The class divide here is between the comfortable middle class and the desperately poor working class. Overcrowding, malnutrition, disease. The show doesn't romanticize poverty. It shows the reality of being at the bottom of the British class system. So where did this system come from? The roots stretch back to feudalism. Medieval England had a rigid hierarchy. The monarch at the top, below that the nobility who owned vast estates, then the clergy and knights. At the bottom, serfs and peasants who worked the land. Your position was determined by birth. Social mobility didn't exist. You were born into your place. You died in your place. This lasted for centuries. Then came the Industrial Revolution in the 1700s and 1800s. Factories created new wealth. Entrepreneurs became rich without owning land. A middle class emerged. Professionals, managers, merchants. The working class exploded as millions moved from farms to cities. By the Victorian era, Britain had 3 main classes: upper, middle, and working. But within each class were crucial distinctions. In the upper class, old money aristocracy looked down on new money industrialists. It didn't matter how wealthy you were. If you made your money in trade, you weren't quite acceptable. In the middle class, there was upper middle and lower middle. Doctors and lawyers outranked teachers and clerks. In the working class, skilled artisans had more status than unskilled laborers. Even among servants, there was hierarchy. A butler ranked far above a scullery maid. George Orwell said Britain was, quote, the most class-ridden society under the sun. He was right. Hey, let me ask you a question. Who wants cozy? Everyone loves cozy and warm and comfortable, right? Nothing better than CozyEarth.com. You'll find bedding, bath, and more. And because you listen to the British TV watch list, and you can get an incredible 21% off your purchase right now, and you'll see lower prices on the CozyEarth.com website. And you'll help support this podcast because we do get a commission. Just apply our promo code BTVW1. That's BTVW1 when you check out at CozyEarth.com. Why did the system persist? Because it served the people at the top. The aristocracy needed to protect their position. After the French Revolution terrified them in 1789, they doubled down on formality. Alastair Bruce, the historical advisor for Downton Abbey, explained it this way. He says, "The British hadn't always maintained a stiff upper lip. Only a century earlier, the passions of the French Revolution so terrified the British aristocracy that a cool reserve became the definition of good character. There was a very real fear that without formality, the authority of the aristocracy would slip and society would fall apart. Manners became weapons." Bruce also said, "Manners came into everything. How you dressed, how you ate, how you stood, how you spoke. Every detail mattered. If you didn't know which fork to use, you didn't belong. If your accent was wrong, doors closed. The class system maintained itself through 1,000 tiny rules." Downton Abbey shows us exactly how this worked. The structure of the show mirrors the structure of society. Upstairs and downstairs, separate staircases, separate meals, separate lives. Upstairs, the Crawley family worries about inheritance, marriage, and reputation.
Mary can't be completely naive.
I don't need your help, thank you.
Mary, listen to me. If you take Matthew now, when his whole future is at risk, he will love you to the end of his days.
Why, Granny, you're a romantic.
I've been called many things, but never that.
And what happens if the baby's a boy and Matthew loses everything?
Mary can always change her mind.
But I can't do that to Matthew. It's not how we are together.
Downstairs, the servants worry about keeping their jobs, finding a spouse, and surviving. The servants are fiercely loyal to the family. Carson, the butler, sees himself as the guardian of tradition. Mrs. Hughes, the housekeeper, runs the household with precision. But the show reveals the constraints. Servants had no privacy, no freedom. Their lives belonged to their employers. They worked 12 to 18-hour days, earned minimal wages, had almost no rights. Upstairs, the family is trapped too. Robert Crawley is custodian of an estate he can't afford to maintain. His daughters can't choose their own futures. They must marry strategically to survive. Lady Mary says, "I shall be Countess of Grantham one day, and in my book, the Countess of Grantham lives at Downton Abbey. She is a prisoner of her own title." The show depicts the rules clearly. Servants eat separately. They use the back stairs. They're not allowed to make eye contact with family members unless spoken to. When Hugh Bonneville, who played Robert Crawley, filmed a reunion scene with his daughter, he said they initially hugged. Alastair Bruce stopped them. In that era, an aristocrat might shake hands to express emotion. Hugging was too much. How accurate was Downton in portraying the class divide? Mostly accurate. The show hired Bruce precisely to ensure authenticity. Every piece of silverware was placed correctly. Every curtsy performed at the right angle. Bruce studied letters from housemaids to their mothers, account books from grand estates, primary sources revealing tiny details. But some historians argue the show romanticizes the era. It softens harsh realities. The servants in Downton are generally content. In reality, many were miserable. The show touches on brutal working conditions, but doesn't dwell on them. It also compresses the pace of change. In Downton, the aristocracy adapts and survives. In reality, thousands of estates were sold or demolished after World War I. The aristocracy as a political force collapsed. Does the British class system still exist in 2026? Yes. You can see it in every part of the world, but it's evolved. The formal structure has changed. Titles still exist, but carry less power. The House of Lords was reformed. Inherited wealth matters, but education matters more. According to the British Class Survey, Britain now has 7 social classes, not 3. But the class system persists in subtler ways. Accent still matters enormously. The way you speak immediately places you on a social map. Education matters. Which school you attended opens or closes doors. Oxford and Cambridge still dominate the upper echelons of British society. The differences in wealth are stark. The gap between rich and poor has widened. Social mobility has declined. For decades after World War II, you could move up through education and hard work. That's no longer guaranteed. University doesn't automatically mean a better life. The system is more fluid than 1912, but in some ways it's more entrenched than 1970. Is there any good that came from the class system? Some argue it created stability, order, traditions that gave people identity. The servants in Downton take pride in their work. They see themselves as part of something larger. But the cost was staggering. Millions had limited opportunities because of where they were born. Talent was wasted, potential squandered. The entail is a perfect example, a legal mechanism designed to keep wealth concentrated in the hands of a few families. It didn't matter if the daughters were brilliant. It didn't matter if a distant cousin was incompetent. The system protected itself. The British class system shaped the modern world. Britain built an empire, colonized a quarter of the globe, and everywhere the British went, they brought their class system with them. India, Africa, Australia, the Caribbean. The effects still echo today. Downton Abbey made the class system visible. It showed us the mechanics, the entail, the servants' quarters, the dining rituals, the marriage negotiations, all the invisible architecture that kept some people up and others down. Understanding the British class system helps us understand Britain today, why certain accents still carry weight, why certain schools still matter, why social mobility has stalled. The system evolved, but it didn't disappear. It just put on a different face. Thanks to Downton Abbey, we have a better understanding. That's it for today, but before we go, I want to say hello to our listeners in Maidstone, Kent, UK, Goodyear, Arizona, and Casablanca, Morocco. I am absolutely amazed at the response. I always get super excited when I see a UK city pop up. I want to think it's validation, curiosity at the very least. Wherever you're listening, aloha and thank you. And if you'd like to support this podcast, check out our Patreon site. Supporters get exclusive content every week. You can also support us by shopping at CozyEarth.com and use our promo code BTVW1 to get a 21% discount on your bedding, bath, and home goods. That's it for now. Thank you for listening to the British TV Watch List. Until next time, cheers!
The British TV Watch List is written and produced by Michael T. in Honolulu, Hawaii. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. All rights reserved. Copyright 2026. Michael T. Media.